All right, I think it's gonna go on any second now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's redirecting. There we go. Finally. All
All
right,
right, sick, dude.
it's gonna go on
All
any
right.
second so now. I'm gonna mute that on there. All right, great. So that's the live feed. All right, cool. Let's start this on. All right, we're gonna add this on Instagram now. All right, cool. Now I just got to add you onto this. Uh, invite to join. We're gonna invite. Do you want me to do Neil Sorensen or Valentines?
It used to be Valentine's.
Okay. Uh, invite should be on there any second.
All right, co-host. Rock and roll, dude.
Co-host and
All right.
there he is. All right, cool.
And then I mute this.
Yeah. I'm muting it on the phone too.
Okay, cool.
All right. Okay, here we are. All right, I'll figure out a way to monitor the chat. But in the meantime, here we are. All right, what's up, everyone? All right, this is number 6. Yeah, we're a couple minutes late. YouTube was acting strange, but we're all here now, and it's all good. So we got number 6 going on right now. I got my buddy Neil Sorensen on here from Used to Be Valentines. We've been talking for a half hour before this, but how you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. What's up, G?
I'm all right.
Yo. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Drinking my coffee here, even though it's 3 p.m. my time.
Dude. I just got water.
Nice. So, I guess the first thing we should do is let everybody know who you are and how we met. So Niels, why don't you just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, your project, what you're doing, what you do, and all that stuff. Everything short of your PIN number.
Yo, what's up? I'm Niels Sorensen. I play bass, guitar, all that kind of dealio. I'm in Used to Be Valentines. I'm the lead singer of that. I'm now like, a lead singer. Like I don't play instruments. So like that's why I was like, yo, I'm like, dude, I don't play bass in my band right now. I got my main man Logan Shackleton playing bass live for us, dude, and Mike Dutko playing bass on the records. I did a little bass too, but yeah, we're a pop punk band, and yeah, this record's been like 5 years in the making. It's called The Good Years. It just came out in like October. And my friend Marcus Simonini from Another One Down, he co-wrote and produced it with me. And it's just awesome that it's finally out. And but yeah, like as far as like Noah and Max, like we go way back. We went to college together,
Right.
Berklee College of Music, represent yo. Yeah, we like hung out all the time in college, and we still talk hella because he's the fam, dude.
Thank
But
you.
yeah,
Likewise.
yeah, rock and roll, dude. That's who I am.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, no, I remember we met in Charles Volk's band, New Focus. I think he had recruited you a little earlier on, like one show earlier, and then I came on and met you. And it's funny, like I know you're doing so many other things now musically, but I still
Yeah.
kind of intuitively think of you as a bass player still, even though you're much more than that. But that's because when I first met you, you were mainly a bass player and songwriter.
I still play bass for a lot of people. Like I play bass for my friend Remy Mulder
Right.
in the Bay Area, and like that's a lot of fun. And I still get to be a bass player on those records and like play out live with him as a bassist because it still is important to me because like I do love playing bass.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, it's a big part of me. It'll never not be a big part of me.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, so we met through there and we played together all the time with Charles's band, and we just kept hanging out and we're always having a good time together. Did we graduate together? We did, right?
Yeah, I think we walked the same ceremony.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, sometimes it's hard for me to remember cuz some people like were a semester late, a year later or a year before, so sometimes it's hard to keep track, but yeah, I remember we did do that. Yeah. So I guess one of the big things I want to talk about is, well, your new album that's out and how that came together and like how different it is from like other stuff you've done and other stuff that people are doing now. And I want to touch on like how involved you were with the artwork and how it's kind of similar to the last guy I had on here. How you do, you're so in charge of so many things on this record, yet you switch your time between San Francisco and LA, and you have done a lot of stuff in like the film area of stuff too, and artwork and things like that too. And if I'm not mistaken, graphic novels as well. You've done work in there as well, correct?
Yeah, the graphic novel thing is definitely like still in the works, but as far as like working on movies, I did two independent productions during the pandemic. One was a horror movie called Creeping Death, where like I basically had to learn an entire skill set on the fly. I used to play bass for my friend Matt Sampier. We haven't played in a bit, but he's like, "Hey, dude, like, if you want to help out with my horror movie?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm super game for that." And I was like, "Well, I got this Rebel T7i camera, like." I could take behind the scenes photos. He's like, great. Like, let's get you out here. And I spent 3 weeks working with him, and I knew nothing about photography really. I just knew how to, get good concert shots. Like I knew about like composition and people like my photos, but as far as like shooting in a low light, that was a challenge I had to do. We literally went to Best Buy like the night before the movie started, and like I got like a fixed 50 lens that was better at shooting in low light, and like I got to talk to all the camera guys. Like this guy named Jonathan was super helpful. He taught me how to use all my settings, and he really like taught me so much. I ended up taking a picture that was like the movie poster too, like on a whim. Like Matt one night he was like, yeah, like dude, like can we just stay up a little later? I got an idea. And it ended up being the one that was like used for like their premiere that they did in London earlier this year. But yeah, I love working on everything. Like as a kid, I wanted to be more in the movie world because like John Williams was what got me into music.
Ah,
Like so like I was just mega into film scores and really just watching Steven Spielberg movies all the time. So
I didn't
I
know
think
that.
yeah, dude, it was I was like watching Jurassic Park like literally every week like 3 or 4 times, and same with Jaws, and I just loved it. So getting that opportunity from Matt to explore more of the photography side slash story making side, like it was very interesting. Like and it led to another movie called Alien Planet that my friend Alan Maxon, who was the monster of Sam Pierce movie, was like that was his movie, and I learned tons of stuff from Alan too. Like just it's cool to explore different things that you can do in art, because
Right.
like really what I've realized is like if you can like see the full picture better, like you can make every individual thing better. Like
Yes.
because the music is eventually going to go into a movie, or like you have to make a music video for it, or you gotta make cool album art. Like and I did my own album art for the Good Years. It's by Dog Conway,
Yeah.
but I learned a lot from the photographers, about composition, and that informed how I would, do my illustration and like do my characterization and all these things from like talking with actors of how like they get different personalities to be expressed. And it's just like art school, man. Like I think everyone should try something that they're not fully comfortable with, because like when you jump in, and especially if you get to be in a supportive community, like
Right.
even with the band we did, Max, like New Focus, like I couldn't play an odd meter or do any of this like progressive rock stuff. I never even played in D standard or drop C before, and like I
Right.
didn't even know how that worked. But like guys like you like showed me like how to do it, and like
You
I
were
think
mainly
there's
you were
yeah
your bread and butter was like just pop punk at that. I don't want to say just because that sounds limiting, but that was like your main thing was pop punk at that time. You hadn't like really touched on prog really, or maybe a little bit
yeah
of metal by that point, right?
yeah really just that pop punk, dude. But first I got to give a shout out. Blast Out Your Stereo is watching on Instagram, dude, and dude, that guy gave me multiple shout outs on TikTok, and I hella appreciate that, dude. You rock. He
That's
does
awesome.
awesome music reviews. But yeah, dude. I really only did pop punk. Like I came out of the what was called the Red House, like music scene. There's a venue where people took lessons at, and like You rock blast
In the
out
Bay Area,
in
right?
the Bay Area, yeah. And like that's where like bands like The Story So Far and Set Your Goals and even like Rings of Saturn would tour there, and like all these bands that like I thought were local bands, because like why would they like I just didn't get the whole touring thing. I was just like, I have an awesome local scene. And it turned out like literally everyone would like try and play the Red House, get on those bills, because like they would be sold out shows. And when I went to music college, I didn't even know 5-string basses existed, because
That's
I was
funny.
so used to just seeing guys with 4 strings. And
Right.
you know, I had to learn a lot at Berklee, and like I'm
We
stoked
all
I
did.
did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been into pop punk and rock, and outside of that, of course the Guitar Hero canon, like Guitar Hero, Smith and shit. But it was pop punk always, and yeah, high energy rock. That's what I like.
Yeah. And when we got into New Focus together, that was when, Charles was writing predominantly in either D standard or drop C. And then he would throw in like a Muse song or a Porcupine Tree song. I mean, we did Anesthetize, which is 17 minutes long. But I think we cut it down to like 12 minutes or something. He took out he chopped off the end, which has like 45 different vocal layers on it. But yeah, I remember we did that, and we did Bring Me the Horizon. We did all kinds of really cool stuff. Yeah. And that just led to us doing a lot of shows with him, and all of us just becoming really cool friends through that. I mean, that was how I got to know Darian, who has the band Garnet. And that's how I got to meet you. That's how we met Ollie. And what's awesome is that like everyone in that band went on to do cool things. Like Ollie and Taylor, so Ollie was one of the guitar players in that band, and Taylor is his girlfriend, and they were both there, and they were both at Berklee together, and they were both music production and engineering majors. I think her principal at the time was vocals, and then they stayed together, and then they both graduated, and then they moved to London, and now they're not only are they full-time staff engineers at a studio, they have their own band Cosmo Rat, and they're putting out really cool music, and they're constantly gigging around England. Charles is a full-time engineer and producer.
Yeah.
You're a full-time everything. And I'm doing my stuff, which we all know about. I'm not going to talk about that. And Darian's got Garnet, and he's doing all kinds of, I don't even know what he's up to because he's so busy right now working in LA. Have you run into him at all out there?
I stopped going down to LA like after I got my rehearsal space in the Bay Area. So I don't have a spot down there anymore, but I do keep in contact with him sometimes, and it's definitely always cool seeing what he's up to. But yeah, dude, Cosmo Rat, bro. Like, dude, I love what they put out, man. And dude, it's really cool seeing like a college project like launch into like a more finalized form, because like I remember when they put out that first EP and with Peachy Keen, and I still love that song. I hope that makes a comeback. But
Yes.
But like they had a different project in between Cosmo Rat and Cosmo Rat's Resurgence.
Right.
And I'm just stoked that like it's back and they're going really hard, because they always made awesome stuff. And Ollie as a guitar player,
he's so
like,
good.
He's one of the most inventive dudes I know. Like he's really like, he really has his own sound, builds his own guitar stuff inside of and shit. And like it's like messes with his pedals. Like as a guitar player, I don't know anyone that's like goes that hard in the paint with sound design. Like he's
like another Matt Bellamy.
Yeah, it's like the way like those synth guys like go off with their modular synthesis,
right?
But like he does it on guitar, and it's like, dude, hell yeah.
It's so good. Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah. Guys, if you're watching, please tour the US. Oh my God.
Yeah, dude.
We want you to come back here.
Last time I hung out with them, I went bowling with them, and that was tight.
Last time I saw them was like for graduation. I saw them briefly on the street, and I gave them both a giant hug, but we were graduating, so I was running around doing 8 million things.
Yeah.
But yeah. So why don't we get a little bit more into the weeds of your new album? Because this album was like, was it 2-3 years in the making?
This album was like 5 or 6, like as far as
Yeah.
like working with Marcus, but like beforehand, like
Of another one
I
down for who
yeah,
people don't
Marcus
know.
Marcus Simonini, another one down. He's the Brochacho dude. Like he co-wrote like all those songs with me, and like dude, I couldn't have done it without him. So like big shout out to that guy. Holy shit, dude! I can't believe the album's done, and I love what he did. Like awesome person, and dude, amazing musician too. But yeah, as far as like this album, like it really starts back to like, I went on a tour like with one of my first bands, the Detours, and
Yep.
like, dude, I made some great friends out of there, Ryan Bale and Luke Freeze.
Yep.
Y'all rock, bro. But like at the time we kind of realized we wanted different things musically, and the band kind of dissolved. They went off to be the co-tones with a different rhythm section, and I started Easy Target with my friend Charles Pariente, who now lives in the Bay Area, and like we hang out like a bunch, which is sick.
Yeah.
But we made an album with my friend Joe Raz, and it was the first album that like we made where like I was singing lead vocals, and in a lot of ways it feels like my first album, like because like I had to do so much more work on it than like just tracking bass and just showing up. Like I had to like figure out what songs were going to make the album, which ones were going to get cut, which ones I felt like needed to be developed on a later date and wouldn't make the first record. And that can be a hard thing in itself, just like figuring out like which idea is complete and which one's half baked and needs to stay in the oven a little longer.
Right.
But Charles and I, we kind of fused two EPs together, like 5 of his songs, 5 of mine. We co-wrote one together, so like it was kind of like that was the dynamic. It was sick. And we played a bunch of shows. It was great. My brother Derek Sorensen played drums for us like live. And but Charles, when he graduated, he ended up moving out of the area, and the band was kind of discontinued. But I felt like I wanted to keep writing. I just and I just started playing in a band called the Summer Ends.
Yeah.
Summer Ends was with Marcus Simonini, Dylan Walsh, Tyler Chase, and all these guys, and Anna too,
And Prismia, yeah.
and Prismia, dude. So like we have like, and everybody's doing sick projects, dude. Like Marcus and Dylan are now in another one down together.
Right.
Dylan does awesome solo stuff. Tyler's got sounds and scenarios.
Yeah.
Like Anna's got Prismia. Like I've got Used to Be Valentines, and we're all
She
pretty.
just did a gig with Charles. She came over to London and he got all the players together and he played percussion for her.
That's super tight.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like so I took a break and went back to like being bass, but like really like when we co-wrote the Summer Ends EP, like I learned so much from Marcus and Dylan and Tyler. Like because like we were the core writers before Anna came, and we're like, we want to have a real drummer track instead of do program drums. But all the three of those guys, they're just so quick. Like they were very quick at coming up with parts, very quick at coming up with lyrics, very quick at finishing songs. Like we finished a 5-song EP in 2 weeks. Like, and it was like we just hung out, played Shadow the Hedgehog, watched some fucking cartoons, and made music. And it was very low pressure environment. Like no one was pushing like for creativity to happen. It would just happen. And like I was like kind of it in the backseat of that band, like kind of being like, hey, what about this synth riff, or what about this like guitar idea I have, or like what about this melody, what about this lyric, like starting to put in some ideas here and there. But unfortunately that band dissolved. I think like everybody needed to be a main project leader. So like I'm happy it happened, and I know we all grew from it, but everyone needed their own band. And after that dissolved, I was like, okay, like I gotta be my own band, and like really just trust like I can assemble a team and kind of create some of the magic that like I did with the Summer Ends, and do it my own way. And with the help of Marcus and Dylan, like they were super instrumental in making this record happen. The first song we did was All We Ever Wanted to Be, and that was tracked in like 2017 or 2018,
Yeah.
and it didn't see the light of day until like 2020. And that's a weird story too, because like the I put it out once. I didn't really do a lot for promo, and I was like, whatever. I wasn't happy with my first band name, You Were the Weekend, because like
I remember that.
it didn't feel right. I felt like I was kind of trying to rush the timeline.
There's
And
already a week. There's also already a
yeah,
weekend.
yeah. I thought the name rocked, but yeah, dude. As far as being found on Spotify and potential lawsuits, we got big. But the bass player from the Dirty Nil during the pandemic was like, "Hey, I'm bored. Send me songs to play bass on." And I called up Marcus. I was like, "Hey, like, you can you like take my bass off of this song, and we can maybe get maybe get this guy to play bass on it for free because he's bored." And like the Dirty Nil is one of my favorite bass players. Bands. Period. Like the guy's name is Ross Miller. He doesn't play with them anymore, but he just shredded this dope ass bass line. It made me like believe in the project again. So shout out to Ross. And Marcus was really stoked on what he did too. And we had other demos that weren't really fully fleshed out. And really like it also comes back to Max. Like he's a big hero in this whole thing going down. Like, let me stay in Boston. He invited me over, and
Oh yeah.
I asked Marcus if like, hey, do you think maybe I could stay for like a weekend at your place too? And we could finish some of these songs. I'd love to put them out again. And we just got back to writing, and everything picked up where it left off. And it was insane, because I'm just still shocked at how like basically like the Good Years album too, like it was done in like 2.5 weeks over the course of like 7 years.
Yeah.
And it's every time we got together, we wrote a song, made it happen. And some of the songs are written with my brother Derek too in LA. He was actually gonna, mix and produce two of them as singles, King of Second Chances and Drawing Blanks. But I was just like, we like got in a rut when I was at Marcus's. I was like, we have 8 songs and we need to write 2 more songs to fill this out as an album. And I really wanted King of Second Chances and Drawing Blanks on that album, but I didn't want to take the work away from my brother.
Right.
And so we started writing, and within literally 5 hours, we had 5 other songs written for our follow-up album. And we're like, but none of them fit the vibe of the Good Years. And it's like, we had to make the phone call and call Derek. And thankfully, like to my surprise, like he was like, bro, that would be great if Marcus could just finish these up. I don't have time. My brother is he does like a lot of production,
Yeah.
for shows at like the Hollywood circuit at the Beverly Hilton. Like he's working on the Golden Globes and all that kind of stuff. And he builds events, and music's still a big part of his life, but he didn't have time to finish the song, so
Right.
it all worked out the way it was supposed to. But that album like really is like my brother Marcus and I, and a few other people that like we really love to work with, hang out with, and trust. Like Mike Dutko played bass on a one day from Ground Lift. Like when we were hanging out in LA one time, he made like a little joke like, hey, what if I played bass on some of your songs?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, what if you did play bass on some of my songs? I hit him up and he did a killing job.
Yeah.
Like I played bass on a few, like Still Into You and King of Second Chances.
Right.
But like the thing is when you use your, I feel like everyone has a finite amount of creativity for any one project.
Yeah.
And like it gets to the point where your ideas stop being super good, and like you need someone's else's idea to contribute to make
Yes.
the rest of the song sound fresh. And
It's important.
that's a big thing I learned from the Summer Ends. It's like you have to like involve other people that you love to work with, and like it makes everything substantially better. And also Ryan Beck from Another One Down played drums on the entire record, and he wrote some really imaginative parts, like especially on like Still Into You, like that bridge. I'm blown away with what he did. And also like Dylan Walsh, like, and Zach Stenson, like both those guys, like they they would let Marcus and I show them what we were working on and be like, hey, do you like this idea? Do you think this is cool? Where do you think this should go? Like we're stuck, we're stumped. And they'd be like, yeah, this is cool. Like literally Beverly, like my most streamed song and the song people like the most, like live, like literally happened because Dylan Walsh was like, this song sounds like Beverly Hills by Weezer. So like it's like it all came together. But like if he didn't make that comment, and like I wrote that riff in Max Boris's apartment when he was at work because he let me stay at his place, like because we were hanging for a week.
I remember when I came back, you're like, dude, look what I came up with. And I'm like, this is catchy, dude. You need to, I'm like, please put this on the record. I'm like, this sounds really good.
Thanks, man. Yeah, dude, it was wild because like with that song especially, like Marcus and I really we could feel we were onto something, and it was definitely like a song that was finished in 30 minutes, like entirely. And you always hear stories about that, like whether it's like Paranoid by Black Sabbath or Damn It by Blink-182.
Yeah.
Like it's always the afterthoughts like that seem to like be the ones that people like the most, which is kind of crazy.
It's because you are on somewhat of a time crunch or something like that. So you don't have time to overthink stuff. So you shut off that part of your brain and the creativity starts coming out. You're like, oh, this sounds good. And you don't overthink the part. And then you just go, okay, part. You're more spontaneous with it. And that's the other thing too, is I wanted to go off of what you said before. Knowing all those different people and having your team and having people that are on the same wavelength working together, because you are on the same wavelength but different people, you're going to bounce ideas off of each other, and that's going to go through those different filters, and then something different is going to happen rather than if you were just in the room by yourself doing it. And that's what makes for interesting stuff. And you know, and even though like I have my own solo project and I pretty much write the majority of the music, there's a couple collabs on my record, and it was the same thing. Sitting in this apartment with Joe Connect, working on those songs wouldn't have sounded the way they sounded if I wrote them by myself. They sound way much better.
Yeah.
The fact that he and I wrote them together rather than if I had tried to do that myself. They go in directions you don't expect, and that makes you go, oh my God, this is so cool. What if we do? And then it's like a snowball effect after that.
Yeah, and it's interesting like working with people on the same wavelength, and it's also interesting working with people that think very differently than you. Like,
yes,
because like Joe Raz and I, like we have a very different dynamic than like Marcus and I when we make music. Marcus and I, like we pretty much are finishing each other's sentences. Like if I'm not gonna come up with it, Marcus is gonna come up with it, and we're gonna be like, that's the way the song is. Like boom, 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 like. But like with Joe, like he's got a very, very different methodology behind like how to make a record. And like we don't do any pre-production. Like basically with Marcus, like we turn the demo into the final. And like that's the way I like using that way a little more. I feel more comfortable with it. But Joe and I make some very good stuff, like, his way. But like you have to like really trust that everything will come together, because like we didn't even have we tracked guitar without even demo drums or an idea of where things were going. We just wrote it on guitar, our song Without You, and the rest of the EP, wrote the guitar parts, wrote the lyrics, like old school style, like on guitars and writing lyrics before putting together a track. Because usually I make a fire backing track and then I write the lyrics over it. Not like doing them with like writing a song on acoustic guitar. That's happened sometimes, but not majority of the time, not so. But Without You, like it was awesome because I just saw Ryan Glick join. He played drums on that one, which is awesome. Like Used to Be Valentines is a fully different live band because like, yo, what's up, G? I'm about to talk about you, rock and roll. Yeah, so we have a totally different live band because like we're not on the East Coast, and that's where Another One Down is. And right. So like I've got my friends Ryan Glick and Remy Mulder, playing lead guitar. Ryan plays drums. Logan Shackleton on bass, and Remy's wife Rachel Mulder on other guitar. Laying down them rhythms. But I'm very thankful for those guys because like literally this music, like it's one thing to have an awesome record, and it's another thing to like really have a band that can play it super fucking well. And like, you just I love those guys. And like we grew up in like the cover scene together. Like we've been playing together for like 5 years. And it's wild, dude, because we had always talked about original music, like how are we gonna figure this one out? And it took a good 5 years. We made our own cover band called the Popular Kicks, and we like grinded it out in the bar scene. And it helped me vocally because I had to learn how to sing like Yellow Card and really like Fall Out Boy and sing really high.
Yeah.
And my friend Harry J from Berklee, like Harry J Smith, he I took vocal lessons from him for like a year, and we worked very hard on like extending my range so like I could sing the type of music I wanted to write. And like that was huge. And I'm super appreciative of like what he did. And same with my friend Remy. Like, Remy, he has his own band. He just goes by Remy Mulder. But we both took vocal lessons together, and we like, everything we learned together, and we always push each other to get better at whatever it is. And it doesn't matter who's ahead because we'll always catch up, and I'll always share our results with each other.
Right.
And but we play in each other's bands, and that's tight. He plays lead for me, I play bass for him. We just swap.
Yeah.
But getting to have Ryan on a record, with me, and it's just cool because like we've been playing for over half a decade at this point, and we haven't had a recording that we really felt proud of. And the one that Joe did, like we're stoked on. And that was another thing. Like Ryan tracked all the drums for that second EP in literally like 3 hours because he's like, dude, I got to go to work. Like, so we set up the kit in my mom and dad's living room, mic'd it up, and like, Joe engineered it. He taught us how to engineer drums. And, then we later did that for Remy's record in a weekend. And, it's like, it's just cool. Cause like all my friends that like we wanted to make music together as adults, like outside of college, we ended up figuring it out. And like, that's why, like, I'm so damn optimistic about like your life in general. And like, even if there's someone I want to do something with so bad right now, like, it's like, dude, it's going to happen. It's just like, it's going to happen when it happens. And like, if you make the effort to stay in contact with people like that you care about, like you will be able to realize your goals with them. It's just like, you have to let time do what it does. Like even the fact, and Charles, dude, the EP that we did with Joe was revising the Easy Target songs I wrote.
Yeah.
And we got Charles to play guitar on all those songs, like, and rewrite his parts, actually write parts. Cause like I wrote the guitar parts for my songs, and he kind of just played them. But this time it was like, well, and Joe wrote a significant amount of reimaginings of my guitar parts too. And it's like, right, let them, be like the people to make that statement on those instruments, because it's not just me anymore. Like it's bigger than that. And like, it's about collaboration, and it's about, passing the torch and letting someone else roll with an idea they're excited about. Like that's how I like to write.
Even when it's your own band, like if you are the leader of it, there is a point where you got to take your own ego out of it. Because if we look at, and I don't want to just pinpoint it at like, like the Guitar Heroes, people hear me rattle off all the time, but even then they know what people to have in their team to make the picture come to life. For example, like even with my own record, the last one I put out, Transhuman, I was considering playing everything except the drums. I already knew my brother was going to play drums on it. I was going to play all the instruments on it, and I was even going to mix and master it and do the artwork for it. But then I remember after tracking drums with Ethan, I'm thinking of or maybe it was slightly before that, I don't know. I came home from work one night, thinking about all the stuff I would have to do, and I was just like, okay, yeah, it's my record, but like, I was like, if I mix this, it's not gonna sound anywhere near like it's like I want it to sound. And Charles, it's funny. A lot of the people we're talking about have duplicate names here. So Charles Volk, I I called him up and said, "Hey, dude, I'm doing a 9, well, at the time it was 9, turned into 10 song prog metal album. Can you mix it, please?" And thank God I made that call. And again, knowing when to let go of your ego and just be like, let the person that can do it better than you do it, because that will help bring your vision to life. And then again, the same thing with tracking the instruments. I was like, I'm going to do all these myself. It's like, okay, first of all, my own band has been performing half of these songs out for like a year now. Let them
Yeah.
play their own parts on there. Yes, I wrote them, but let them put it on there. And they did a spectacular job. That ended up with us co-writing a couple songs together, which made, so my point is that like,
Yeah.
yes, you bring other people into your team, even if your name is the one on the marquee and maybe you're writing all the music. Bring in the other people that are going to help bring that vision to life, and then it becomes, again, it's that passing the torch along, like you're saying. It works with everybody.
Yeah, man. And I think I really, what's funny is like the movies I did, like Alien Planet and Sam Pierre's Creeping Death, like happening like around the same time, like of like these the album that I made, The Good Years. Like I really learned a lot on that movie crew about how many people it really takes to like make a project happen, and how important it is to make sure everyone feels essential to the success of the project, because like the morale of the team is like much more important than literally anything else. Like I could see like, days that were going really well and days that were going tough, and like, you
Hey,
know,
Charles Volk just
hey, what's
hopped
up,
on.
Charles? But yeah, like, I learned a lot from Matt, Sam Pierre, and Alan Maxim,
Yep.
the directors of Alan was Alan's movie is not Creeping Death. Alan was the monster Creeping Death. Matt Sam Pierre's Creeping Death and Alan Maxim's Alien Planet. Seeing how these directors would talk to people and talk to actors and make sure that everyone was feeling good about the takes they did, feeling good about the culture on set. If someone had a concern, it was like, it was addressed, and they were heard out. And like if something had to be pushed back or couldn't work, they weren't mad or frustrated. They figured a way around it, or like figured out what else could be done with the time that they had to be productive. But they made sure that it was like as stress free of an environment as it can be. Like definitely, like when you're working on a movie or working on an album and like you have an idea of when things should come out, like that's always like on people's minds. But I do think at the end of the day, like good art takes time, and like you have to prioritize literally everybody over yourself and over what you want as like, the project manager, because like these people are taking their time to like really like make your dream come true and like be a part of that. And like you have to understand, like, dude, like when you're the boss, like, or like a project manager in charge, like it's like you work for the people that you're paying. Like you're not, it's not the other way around. Like, and I think that's where like a lot of bands like go wrong, is like they think because they pay someone for their time, like that means that they own that person's time. It's like, no, like that's not true at all. But like a lot of people see it like that. It's like, dude, like these people, like they're doing amazing work for you, and like if they need like more time or something, like, dude, like you got to be cool with that. And like I've seen people, get mad at engineers or get mad at producers or get mad at like the timeline, and it's like, dude, like people, these are people you're talking to, bro.
Yeah.
And you gotta be respectful and treat people like people and really care for people, you know?
Yeah. You can't have a God complex, even though it may be your session and whatnot. It's and and a lot of the people that like do get a big head like that, yeah, they do churn out good product as well, but then they develop a reputation, and depending on where they go with stuff, you may not always want to work with that person, and you don't want to be that guy. And what's funny, I'm looking at the YouTube comments right now. I think you kind of involuntarily answered a question on there. A person that looks like me commented and wrote, "Good afternoon. What skills in addition to playing have helped you in your career, like photography or social media management?" You kind of just touched on that there a little bit.
Well, I think patience is like the biggest skill that I've learned. Like, you know, it took 7 years to make this album even happen. And like I had to learn a lot of different skills on that road. I think being open-minded and really like taking the time to like learn from others and work on other people's projects. Cause like really like if I didn't work as a bass player on so many, records and stuff like my college years, if I didn't like see how like the movie thing really helped, because like that, like, in a band you're managing like, maybe 7 to 8 people like total, like as part of like the album, but like on a movie set, like I saw my friends Matt and Alan manage like 30 to like 50 people at any given time and figure out how to make sure everyone was feeling good on set. And really like I I don't know, man. Like I think like it's just like you gotta also believe in what you do hardcore, because like you can't let people like deter you from doing what you want to do. But if it's not happening now, like it doesn't mean it won't happen later. It's just like you gotta just keep doing what's coming at you and like figure out what lessons you can take from everything you're a part of.
Right. No, I agree. I agree. That is an important thing. And I lost my train of thought. I think, but yeah, it's just that is the big thing. Going back with like everything you've said so far, it's about having the right team, and yeah, you have to like what you're doing. You can't just put out something that you don't think is going to be that you think, yeah, people will like this, but do I like it? No, you can't do that. I mean that's like signing to a record company 101 in terms of horror stories. Not that like signing to a record company is a bad decision, period. It can be a good one, but like, yeah, if you don't believe in the product, what's the point? That's the big thing. Yeah. And I think what's also cool too, because we were talking about this before we went on, is how involved you were in, because we were just talking about how involved you were with just the overall production of the music, but let's
Yeah.
talk about the artwork and the photography and all that stuff too, how involved you were in that, and maybe how all the freelance photography and graphic design and working on the movies helped to influence that. And maybe because I remember, and I mean, I could be wrong
Yeah.
in the starting point here, but I remember like when we were in college, what seemed to me the first time you started really getting into comic books and graphic novels, you like just all of a sudden started paying attention to Spider-Man, and then everything was Spider-Man
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah, dude. I mean
And you've
that's
like
that's
never been the same since.
that's kind of a funny one. I had like a long distance relationship in college, and like when it like ended, I was like I needed something to do with my time, because like my free time, like, and like the dumb thing is like, dude, like I was playing in so many bands, I barely had any free time. But like, everybody needs like, decompression time. Like I think at the time I was playing in maybe like 3 or 4 bands. So like basically my free time was between like, you know, 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. And then I'd like get up for college at like 8. But like I was just like, okay, like I need something to occupy those hours I normally would have been talking to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I chose Spider-Man, but I went so hard in it. And I literally read like every Spider-Man comic book from like the 70s onwards, like all the big trade paperbacks and the really important key issues. Like
Yeah.
I read everything in like 6 months. And
I remember
you
those
know,
6 months. Yeah.
yeah, it was very cool to see like so many different takes on a character. I think, indirectly, like seeing that, like the way people like handle like a property like Spider-Man, for instance, it's like, okay, like every writer has like 3 to 5 years to put their mark on the character. And you get very different Spider-Mans, like from literally everybody. Everybody has an idea of like what aspect do you accentuate the most? Is he more of a hero, like an unsung hero, like someone that like should be on the Avengers, or like, oh, we're throwing him on the Avengers, we're gonna make him a mainline guy, make him more responsible. Like, are we gonna destroy his personal life and like make him too much of a hero, or like make him slack on a hero and like be more have more personal girl drama and shit. But
We had that one
yeah,
Spider-Man movie where there were two of them.
yeah, dude. And then three and No Way Home, dude, which is hype.
Yep.
But yeah, dude, sorry, I lost my train of thought of Spider-Man art. Yeah, dude. I That's another thing. I used to draw all the time when I was like 10, dude. Like I would go hard. I straight up
Too.
drew
Me
every
too.
single day, and I would draw little things and give them to kids at school, and they'd be like, "Oh, cool, thanks for giving me a piece of art." But like, dude, I was into that. Like I was a very creative kid, but like I didn't know how to express myself verbally. Like I that's why I would make things all the time, or like watch movies, or listen to music, and like like I even played pretend a little longer than like most kids, because I was just like I had so many ideas that like I couldn't express like via talking. And like really until music came into the picture, like that's when like I was like, oh, okay, like I have an identity. I'm a musician. And then I started having friends and started talking and started like being less of the weird silent kid and being like the, oh, I play guitar kid, and like now I play in bands kid. And I got a lot of confidence from that. My early teachers like Brooks Lundy and guys at Red House like Vince Lay too, like these instructors, like they helped me figure out how to be me, like, and figure out how to like communicate that through music, and also as a person through like teaching me life skills.
Right.
So, but like I after I went into music, I did like a hard break on visual art, and like I didn't pick it up until like probably around the Spider-Man comic phase that I had in like
Right.
early 20s. I drew a little, like at home, like between like breaks of school, like winter breaks and stuff. But I it wasn't until the pandemic when like there was no music, and I literally was going crazy because I was like, yeah, if I can't play shows, I need another outlet. Like this isn't gonna work. So I studied like art hardcore for like 2 years, to the point where now like I can do my own like album art, and like I'm working on animated videos, and like it's I taught myself animation over the pandemic too, and like just a lot of experimental things. And I I think that it was really exciting to be bad at something again. Like obviously like I could be a better musician in a variety of ways, but I know who I am now, and like
Right.
I have the skill set needed for what I care to do. And sometimes I go back and I'm like, oh, I need to learn that, so I will. But with art, there's so much that I still need to learn, and so much stuff that's just not even obvious to me.
And you never stop learning anyway, so
Yeah, so it's fun. It's also a complementary skill, and I just I love it. Like
yeah.
because it makes me feel like I get to reconnect with something that like I kind of pushed off. But the art for this record, I initially had this woman named Cassie Potish do the art for like All We Ever Wanted to Be, like that skeleton dude, and she's done some merch for me too, and my heart logo.
Yeah.
I love her work, and she works for
Right
people
there
like,
on your hat.
yeah, dude, right here, Cassie Potish. Um, she does stuff for like Sum 41 with Confidence and like Census Fail, and like I don't know how I found her on the internet, but somehow like it ended up happening on Instagram, and she's been doing like a lot of commission work for me over the years, and I love what she does. But the good years, I was kind of like, it has to be a little more fun than edgy, and it was kind of hard to figure out. My mom actually helped make the decision for the album art like a lot, because I had drew this picture of Conway, my corgi. I love that dog so much. Like seriously, like he's a pandemic pup, and like broski, like I love my dog so much. I hang out with him all the time, and he's a baller. But that's why Conway is the album art for the good years, because like, and in a weird way, like he wasn't around during my quote unquote good years, like because the album touches a lot on like high school and college, like and that kind of thing, like that the transition from like being a teenager and more in the world of like being a kid where like there's no repercussions for your actions, like you can learn a lot, but then when you become an adult you're kind of expected to like have the knowledge of like how to interact in like the adult world, but like you don't entirely know how to do that yet, and you're still making mistakes, and that's a lot of like what the good years, like lyrically, conceptually, is like figuring out how to navigate that period of like becoming an adult. But Conway came after I had figured out a lot of those lessons. So it's kind of like, and dogs are always associated with like good years because everyone had a childhood dog that they love. But I didn't. I grew up with cats, and
Yeah.
I love cats. But there is something very different about a dog than there is a cat, and I know it upsets people when like especially cat people that don't have dogs. It's like they're not the same.
Right.
Like I have a cat that's a very good roommate. Like it vibes, but it doesn't need me. It doesn't greet me. It just vibes.
Yeah.
And like sometimes she'll sit on my lap, and I love my pop. I love popcorn. She's great.
Yeah.
Black little kitty cat. But like Conway, like straight up, he always wants to hang. He's excited to see me. He always wants to play. He's just a bundle of joy, and like his energy is so happy and contagious that like when my mom like was like, "Hey, like why not make the album art your dog? Like our dog." Like I'm like, "Yeah, that makes a lot of sense." And I did. And like I already had the picture of Conway, put him on grass with his little red ball at the sun, and I was like, "That's the album art." And I think it also just goes to like when you overthink things, you can complicate shit so hard.
Yeah.
I spent like 3 months trying to figure out what the album art would be when literally I could have just made it my dog the whole time, even because I love that image. But like I was like, it should be edgy, it should be cool. I'm like, dude, no, it needs to be Conway. It needs to be, it needs to be what it wants to be. And like that's my other big thing on like not forcing things, like whether it's like a timeline of events or like or how a lyric needs to be or how anything needs to be, dude, like in life in general. Like if you try and force shit, like things get weird. Like when you
Right.
just lay into what how things are shaking out, like it only gets better.
That's
And
the thing
yeah.
yeah, that's the thing I think a lot of us artists sometimes tend to do. I mean, even for those of us that are spontaneous, we will tend to overthink stuff way too much, and then you get a product that wasn't necessarily what you intended, and it may not always be better. And sometimes, yeah, things do need to be worked on over time. There's room for both. But like you said, yes, Conway for the win. But yeah,
Conway.
but like you
Yeah.
said, you worked for this album was the culmination of like 5 years. So the album itself needed time, but the artwork, yeah, your mom's basically like, your artwork is sitting right there on the floor, right next to you.
She literally did, and like it was hilarious because like there's been a lot of things like, and that's why you need other people's input, dude. Like get the people you care and trust, like ask them what they think, and they will always give you a good answer. And like it's not it's I think that a lot of artists like they like they get very wrapped up in like themselves as individuals. And like I think the best thing I learned from being a bass player, like as far as band dynamics, is like I've seen so many like, fatal flaws that like destroyed bands because like lead singers' egos were like insane. And like, some of these lead singers, like later down the road, I'm like, oh, like he was learning that lesson. And like I've had to learn lessons too. Like sometimes some of the band stuff didn't run smoothly because of me. Like I'm not I'm not perfect either. But like
Oh, it
I
is.
think as far as like a lead vocalist thing, especially when you're the leader, like if you're not taking input from your other band members, or you're like a dictator, or you like shut down people's ideas, like it really is abrasive. And then it's like I would always like think as a bass player, like, and this only happened to me on a few sessions, like I would usually, it's like people ask me to be on their project, I'm going to do my thing, they want me on their thing because they know I'm going to do my thing. But like there have been a few people in my life that are like, I want you on this thing, and then they try and micromanage how I play. And then I get really frustrated because I'm like, you asked me to be a part of this, but you're not trusting me.
Right.
And that's another thing. Like, if you're going to ask for someone's input, like, you should really value it. And like, regardless if you're going to do what they do, like, you need to be able to like hear them out. And that's like my friend Matt Sampier. Like, dude, like, I feel so thankful that I'm in his circle, like with the movie thing, because like I've watched maybe like 7 or 8 edits of Creeping Death in various stages, like over the past year. And like he still asks me questions like, what do you think about this? How do you think this is edited?
Yeah.
How do you think this could be edited? Like, is this missing anything? Is this running smoothly? Like, and I know he appreciates my input. And like I I appreciate anyone that's willing to give me, their input, because like that really helps inform a lot of things. Like the friends are mad important, and far more important than like most band leaders like seem to see. And like it's hard to see, like, when your favorite bands don't get along anymore because they literally stopped,
Yeah.
caring about the people that like they literally couldn't do anything without, dude. Like,
Exactly. I mean, you hire, you hear this from like the great session players too, is that because the interviewers will ask them, if we talk like we'll take Steve Lukather from Toto, for example, played on
yeah,
tons and tons of albums, more than people realize. And I'll see so many interviewers ask him, okay, so when you went into the session, like, so you had to be able to read it every single note perfectly and get it on the take. Yes, but that's not the kind of sessions that Steve Lukather would be hired for.
yeah,
Hire a certain player based on what they do best, and if that's what you need for the session. So for example, his thing was, yeah, he could read and he was a decent reader, but his strength was he had and still has an arranger's
yeah,
ear, a producer's ear, and you could give him a chord chart with just like, just chords with slashes and whatever else, and he would come up with a cool guitar part, like riffs and a cool guitar part and whatever for that song. And then you've got a really, and especially if he knew all the other people on the session, which most of the time he did,
yeah,
that they could all work together, like kind of how the Wrecking Crew did, and then help you to fashion a song that originally could have been just like, a piano vocal demo, which they didn't even get. They would just get a chord
yeah,
chart with lyrics and then turn it into a really cool song. You wouldn't get people calling him in there to sight read something perfectly note for note. If you wanted that, you called Tommy Tedesco or somebody like that, or Jay Graydon or whoever. And even then, Jay Graydon was always called in for stuff like that. Now, I know I'm talking 70s and 80s guys here, but the same thing happens for right now. You don't call, like a producer, you're not going to call in if you want to do a rock album, you're not going to call in a producer who specializes in hip hop or electronica unless that's a new direction you're looking to go into. You
Yeah.
you grab you can't grab a person who does X, but you want them to do P. You know what I mean?
Unless they like, unless they want to try that, dude. I don't know if you've listened to Heart Attack Man yet, but like, dude, Heart Attack Man, they just had they just had their record produced by Little Aaron, dude. And
Oh,
Little Aaron does mainly like pop, chicks in LA and like hip hop guys. And he they Heart Attack Man put out like a little documentary on this, and it's pretty tight because they talk about how Little Aaron is used to like mixing and mastering with like all synthesized stuff, like programmed drums,
yeah,
keyboards, all this kind of stuff, like pop style vocal processing. And Heart Attack Man, and Eric from Heart Attack Man, he loves memeing on the internet. Same with Little Aaron, and they had a
right.
very good sense of humor. They ended up like talking, writing some songs, and then Little Aaron produced their most recent record, Freak of Nature. And Little Aaron got Heart Attack Man to have their help, with getting their engineers and getting their some of their other people that work in their camp to like help with the more organic and live aspects of it, and actually taught Little Aaron some stuff about working with real instruments. And that is honestly pop punk record of the year for me. Like,
Yeah.
because like Heart Attack Man, like they rip, dude. Like you know, I love them, dude. I think so highly of that band because like they just have like stellar fucking live performance. Like their lyrics like hit aggressively hard. Their riffs are like, in my opinion, better than like anyone else in the scene. Like I just think Heart Attack Man's like the best, dude. And Little Aaron, like it's interesting with that Freak of Nature record because you hear hip hop elements and like some like weird samples going on in the back, like that are like you would never hear on a conventional pop punk record. And I think that's what's so exciting about like that Freak of Nature Heart Attack Man record because like it's not conventional, but it's better because it's not conventional.
Well, I agree with you
Yeah.
on that. I guess what I was saying is, see, that's a good example of when you bring someone in that, yeah, maybe they don't necessarily do what you're known for doing, but if you want to bring someone in to help do something different,
Yeah.
you let them know, you let them do what they do best to help do that. I guess I'm just trying to reaffirm the point that
Yeah.
you bring in people who do a certain thing a certain way because that's kind of the approach you want on your album.
Yeah.
You shouldn't try to micromanage the thing. If someone does something else really well, and you know that trying that new thing out with what you're doing is going to create a really cool product.
Yeah.
One of the examples I always give, and people that have been watching this are gonna roll their eyes because I don't stop talking about it, is Flood, the producer. When he got together with Depeche Mode, that was basically when they became an international arena act.
Yeah.
Because they were working for 10 years at that point, and they're an electronic band out of England that's playing decently sized venues, but they're not just they're not like Kraftwerk or anything. They have a little bit of a rock element, but it's also very electronic music too. But when Flood came into the picture, he, from having worked with other rock bands too, he was able to help do an organic blend of both.
Yeah.
Which is why on that record, Violator, you have, first of all, their most famous song of all time, Personal Jesus. And the thing that makes that record stand out so much is it does not sound like all the other programmed electronic records that were coming out of that scene in England in the 80s. By the time he comes with them in 1990, you have that organic rock band feel, but it's a perfect hybrid of that and the electronic side. And things like one other person pointed out, it doesn't sound like no disrespect to Erasure, but when you hear Erasure albums, you can very clearly hear the sequencers and that it's synthesizers and whatnot. Whereas on Violator, yeah, you can hear the synthesizers, but every single sound on that record, every like sound that sounds programmed is an amalgamation of like 5 or 7 different sounds put together to make that one sound. Okay, like the drum beat in Personal Jesus isn't just a drum kit, nor is it like a programmed sound. It's two different things. It's the band stomping on flight cases in a giant hall, mic'd at different positions, various different takes of it put together, plus the performance on the drum kit, plus an electronic drum kit sample on top of it, all blended together to make that one big sound. Now, who in that genre was also doing that at the same time? People, you can correct me if I'm missing someone there. But in that way, though, you know what I mean? And what
Yeah.
happens then? Then they become Depeche Mode as we know them.
Yeah, man. I mean, you need that experimentation to make it exciting. And I think that especially with pop punk as a genre,
Yes.
like people have gotten so into they've gotten so into the conventional things because like there was a time where people would write to get onto the Vans Warped Tour
Yeah.
because like it was just like, okay, if we have this sound, we will get a fan base and we will get on the tour. And it worked. And I think there's a lot of bands in 20 from like the 2012 to like 2018 era that like all sound ridiculously the same when they all could have had their own, imprint on the genre. And I'm not saying this to like put down other bands, but like I'm saying this more of a way of like they're the genres have like so much potential to be so exciting. And I think that there are like bands like Heart Attack Man, for instance, like they're doing some of the stuff you're talking about with like really crazy layering that like in a lot of ways, like what you're talking about, what Flood did with Depeche Mode is like what Little Aaron is doing with Heart Attack Man. And I think that like that's why that record is exponentially more exciting to me than like something by some band that like is just putting out the same album, or like even bands like Hot Mulligan, which are considered like pop punk, but are redefining what it could be, slower tempos, like in
Well,
a
what
genre
about when
flooded with like like
yeah.
it's crazy, but like there are a lot of really creative bands, and I think that like some of the pop punk like it gets overshadowed because like it's a
Yes.
very like there's a lot of bands in the scene that are doing very similar things, but
Right.
there are a handful of bands that like I really feel like are stepping that up and like redefining what this thing could be to the point where there are now bands trying to mimic what they are. And
Yeah.
I I think that like if you're gonna make an album or make anything in general, like you might as well be yourself and not try and disguise what you are. Like even when I was working with my vocal coach Harry J, like he was talking to me about, hey, like I was like, hey, like can you help me help me sing like me? And he's like, that's not that's not something a lot of people ask. Like a lot of people want to sing like other people or like adapt all the mannerisms, and it's the same way instrumentalists like can all
Yeah.
be guilty of sounding the same. Like
That's how we
how
all start. That's how we
I,
all yeah.
it's how you start. I mean, you have to learn other people. And like when I was working with Harry, I learned like Yellow Card and Fallout Boy and
Right.
My Chemical Romance, and extended my range. And that's a massive, massive part of growth. Like my friend Luke Fries, he told me this one thing a while ago about how like you have to do an equal amount of consuming and creating. And
Right.
I was like, yeah. I mean, he's like, if you do either, you're gonna be empty. Like you're gonna if your creation isn't informed by anything, then it's not a part of any conversation. But if you're only consuming, then you're not saying anything. So like you have to be the biggest fan, and you have to be a creator.
Yes.
And all my favorite creators, like whether it be movies or whether it be like, I mean, dude, Tom Cruise watches a movie a day. Like, why do you think he's such a good actor? He's so aware of all the different ways you can do it.
He's
and
always learning.
he knows how he wants to do it.
Yes.
Steven Spielberg's watching a movie a day or more. Like, you know, I listen to an album a day at least,
Yep.
like all the way through. Like I learn how to play songs on every instrument now, and really like figure out this arrangement. Like, like I am still a mega fan. And like I think that a lot of bands they think that they have to stop being a fan because now they're the band. And
Right.
I think that it's the biggest mistake because like
It is.
that's where you get like ego of like my band's better than everyone else's band. It's like because they have this head where like they only listen to their own stuff and basically are just sniffing their own farts. And it's like it's stupid, dude. Like it's like I I have so many favorite albums that came out this year, and like I'm just stoked that like there is so many different takes on what pop punk can be because like it gives us all an excuse to like be like, hey, we can be ourselves too. Like that's what it should be. It shouldn't be like, how do I be exactly them? It's like, how do I be myself in this space?
I always take this approach with my students. I always tell them, because they'll be into a certain band at the time or a certain style of music, and I'll either just say it to them or I'll just show it to them. I say, try listening. You should, if you're into this band, you should check out this band and expand your horizons. And then if and I am yeah, and like Remy's saying, I agree with everything you're saying as well, which is why I'm bringing this point up too. When my students have like hopefully amassed a nice eclectic mix of music and they're starting to understand the fretboard a lot more, that's when a lot of times they'll just start I mentioned this last week, they'll just start playing just random riffs all the time, and some of them will just pop out like an idea here, and then some of them just won't know when to stop noodling around coming
Yeah,
up with cool ideas, and I have to stop them and be like, whoa, 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 dude, that's a cool idea, you should make that into a song. And either their homework is to go home and take some of the noodles that they're coming up with and make that into songs, or the lesson becomes us working on a song based off of that riff they came up with.
that's tight, dude.
Yeah. That's highly important, I think, because every musician should take a crack at writing. Like, even if you're like being a songwriter isn't your thing, you should still try it at least. What is improvisation? It's creation in the
Yeah.
moment. What is a song? It's a creation. They're just two different takes on it. One is a more methodical process that happens over time, but improvisation is in the moment creation. And the thing is that like, even if you don't want to be a songwriter, you're still kind of doing it anyway in a certain sense. Maybe not in an organized form, but you are creating some sort of an arc in the moment. And the point is that like everyone should try it at least once, because you don't know if that's going to become your lot in life. And even if it isn't, you've tried it a little bit and you understand how it works, and it'll benefit you in two ways: in just your improvisation when you're performing, or what if you become a session guy and you're the guy that's good at coming up with parts on the spot, again, like Steve Lukather and so many other different musicians. And a lot of musicians are come in and so many session guys are come in because not everybody's a fantastic reader, but there are so many musicians that are very spontaneous creators because they took that time to do the two things you're talking about: take in so much stuff and try to create. And a lot of those guys that come in are known for coming up with really, really cool parts and really cool hooks. What's the thing that Chad Saliga, Charles, if you're watching, has always preached that's so important? The drum hook. And how many cool drum hooks did he play in Breaking Benjamin and all the other bands he's played with? Tons of them. So this is my very long, extended way of reaffirming your point.
Yeah, man. Dude, first I gotta give a shout out to Zach, dude, and Eric, bro. What's up, guys? Y'all rock. But
And
yeah,
yes, Charles, drum hook.
Drumhawk, dude. Yeah, I do think that it is like
Keep
like
going. My cat's
it
trying to
is a
get it.
bizarre thing. Oh yeah, dude, cats. With improv, dude, like I do think that it is like a weird thing that like as a bass player, like bass player Neil's talking right now, the
Yes.
whole like bass players like don't get credit on records because they just wrote the bass part. It's like, bro, like they if you have a good bass player, like you've got someone that's like really listening to everybody. And like I'm saying this like talking about like some of my friends that play bass too, and like my favorite bass player is like ever like Mike Dirnt, like Tom Hamilton from Aerosmith. Like their playing is super informed. And like when I had to learn bass, the first thing I had to learn is like how do I make everyone else sound better and like push other people's ideas to sound awesome. Like if someone's doing a guitar riff that's really cool, should it be doubled or should I pound roots through it? Like
Or
I got to make
inversion.
that
Or,
call, but like how do I best support them? Like does it need to be so ultra present, or like does it need to be like, just like a little thing in the back? Like but you kind of have to figure out as a bass player like how to support everyone, the best you can. And you have to listen to everybody. You have to listen to the drums. You have to listen to the guitar. You got to listen to the vocalist, and you got to listen to a keyboard player. We got one, but you have to really take the time to like figure out where your place is in that song. And I think that if everybody like comes at it like that, like listens to each other, like writing good parts is based off of listening more than playing. I do my best to like when like I'm playing bass on like say my friend Remy's song, like I'll listen to it all the way through before I start coming up with ideas because I want to be fully informed. Like I don't want to like just I want my instinct to take over, but I want my instinct to have more information. And I do like tracking immediately after I hear the song because I know my best ideas are going to come to the forefront.
right.
But I I know that if I'm not listening, I can't do my job well. And also listening to the lyrics, I got roasted at Berklee by David Bendith, who
I was gonna bring this up
yeah, dude,
anonymously, but you go ahead.
yeah, dude, I got roasted because I didn't know the lyrics for one of my friend's songs. He called up a band to like go like basically just have him ask questions and see what lessons he could get students to learn. And he asked me if I could sing back the lyrics to my friend Joe Rise's song that we had just worked on, the night before. And I didn't. And he's like, then you have no business playing on the song because you don't know what it's about. And like, how are you supposed to like put in the emotional performance
Yeah.
and make people believe in Joe's lyrics if you're not even going to pay attention to what the song's about? And you're only paying attention to like the chords and bass. And everything I just said about like paying attention to the instrumental is still super important, but it's also incredibly important to understand the context of the songs and what emotions should be put into it. Because aside from note choice, you can put your emotion behind your playing, and it is either really heard like as an emotional performance. Like I think November Rain, like the solo Slash does, and like the way the piano is on that song too, that's a hyper emotional song.
Yeah.
Same with like even like Civil War. Like I've been on a Guns N' Roses kick right now, so like that's why I'm talking about it. But like there are some songs where you're like, oh, they were phoning it in, like like,
Right.
and you really have to listen to people. Also, Eric, hell yeah, bro. Eric's a sick bass player, dude. He rocks.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I mean, and let's think
yeah,
about. I just thought of this when you were talking about how some people will be like, "Oh, it's just the bass. The bass player just wrote the bass line." "Hysteria" by Muse. That song is the bass line, but at the same time, you can have a cool bass line, but then put everything else around it, and you have, one of the top 5 songs that Muse is known for. That's not just the bass line, that's the foundation of that song. And not only that, he plays that same bass line over the solo. You'd think that like Normally, you'd
Yeah.
want to play a simpler bass line when the guitar solo comes in to leave space. No, he plays that same bass line going through the solo, and it fills up that space. It is the sum of the parts, like everyone else is saying on here. It's all part of that foundation. It is the sum of the parts. Yeah, there may be a soloist here and there, and there is the vocalist, obviously. But what are you going to sing on if there's no foundation? You can't build the roof unless you have the basement.
Yeah, it is true, man. With like literally everything, if you don't have a good foundation, like it all comes crumbling down. And that's why like I like from a bass player's perspective, like I've always seen the importance in the foundation, dude. Like literally like that's why we got to hold it down so much, dude. And even when time is running out, like Charles just brought up, like
Yep.
dude, do 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 do. It's still like all straight A's, like with a little syncopation here and there, but like
Well,
that's
what
a
are we doing the
strong
whole?
foundation.
What are we doing the whole time?
Yeah, you're sapping, dude. Versus if it's do 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 da 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 boom da do. That could be a cool take on it, but like the other layers wouldn't work over it. They'd have to be different for that to work. And it sounds like some funny dance song.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude.
Which
That
Muse
bass
also
player,
has.
Muse. Oh yeah, dude. Panic Station and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I spent an absurd amount of time learning Muse bass lines because I still think that guy rips, dude.
Of
He's
course
awesome.
he does.
He's
And they put on
he's
one of the
goated.
greatest shows ever live.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, dude. Drones tour, dude. That's the only time I've seen them, but they were amazing.
I saw them with 30 Seconds to Mars back in 2017, I want to say, at Jones Beach. It was an outdoor amphitheater, so they couldn't have the full-on crazy
Yeah.
production, but still, I was just like, what the? It was so good.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah. It was awesome. Yeah. So, I mean, we could talk about this stuff all day, but like, what else do you have going on? Like, what have you got? What have you got? Like, what shows have you got coming up? What's new with, just tell everyone that's like, whether they're in the Bay Area or if it's stuff that's coming out or whatever, like what stuff do you got coming up next?
It's actually
Please
been
tell
kind
me
of.
it's in the East Coast tour
Yeah.
because I want to see you.
I'd love to play the East Coast, but right now it's all like Bay Area stuff. But what is crazy is we actually got hit up by an East Coast band through like a touring agency that wants us to open up for them like in February this coming year. It's been wild with shows, dude. Like I actually haven't booked a single show for myself this year, like which is awesome. Like
Yeah.
I'm stoked. Like people have just always been asking used to be Valentine's to hop on bills, and now we have like people that are reaching out to us about a lot of things. Like the other day we got reached out to by like an A&R company, and I'm like, oh, this is all right, rock and roll, dude. I guess we're doing good work if like now like people are asking about us. But what's up, Logan? And yo, dude, but the thing is, it's like interesting is like, yeah, Logan and I, we went to go see Heart Attack Man and Hot Mulligan the other night.
Yeah.
And literally when we were at that show, I got reached out to by two separate venues / promotion companies. Like they were like, hey, can you play shows these dates? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. We played an emo night recently at Retro Junkie in Walnut Creek. And that was awesome. Like I've been working at Retro Junkie like, on and off for like 6 years. I used to help do live sound with Jeff Fogarty.
Oh yeah.
He's related to
John Fogerty.
John Fogarty's brother.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean he's related. That's his uncle. But yeah, his brother was the Fogarty that was his dad. But anyways, like I worked there like, every Friday through Saturday night for like a year straight, like helping run sound for tribute bands and
Nice.
like learning how the venue side of things run. And I learned so much from like working at a venue. Is crazy. But like, and then I, did live band karaoke there. Like as a
I remember you. Yeah.
we had basically the Guitar Hero soundtrack, like 300 songs, singers would sign up to sing a song with us and we just have to play it. And that was amazing for my musicianship. Like getting to play with Ryan Glick and Remy Mulder like literally every week. And like now that's the band I play in for Used to Be Valentines and Remy's band too.
That's how
Like,
you met them.
yeah, that's how I met him. And yeah, well, Ryan's even more crazy because like I was aware of him from the Red House scene
Yeah.
as a kid because I saw him playing the other bands and I knew this guy was like the best drummer in the scene, but we had never really talked. And it wasn't until I like got out of college and we were like, oh, we both went to Berklee. That's crazy. But like also like a year off from like being at Berklee at the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we played live band karaoke, but Retro Junkie tried out an emo night for like the very first time. And shout out Red House, dude. Will you, won't you? Dude, these guys rock, bro. Her name was Green, bro. Check out that song. I'm telling you, man, that song fucking kicks ass, bro. I
Nice.
listen to that all the time still. Dude, straight up like though. Y'all like pop punk? Will you, won't use your guys. Rock and roll. But yeah, dude, they did an emo night and they asked me to be a part of the emo night because like they knew that I was in a pop punk band and
Right.
like
You
Enrique
know all those songs.
yeah, and we did all of our originals. They didn't ask us for covers. We added like 5 covers because like we wanted to play our favorite deep cuts. We did Understatement by Newfound Glory, which is sick, and Your Graduation by Modern Baseball and like some other stuff. But like it's like
Didn't you
I
say you used to? I just realized.
yeah.
Didn't you say that you would also play? This isn't emo, but didn't you say you used to play Cherub Rocks just so you could go into the next one?
Cherub Rock into Quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in the day, dude.
Oh,
Like
that's back in the
when
day.
I was
Yeah.
when I was like basically in a Smashing Pumpkins Weezer cover band that only did like Pinkerton era shit. Like
Yeah.
because we were edgelords and all the Nirvana songs, no one wanted to hear like Francis Farmer and Milk It. We were called Uber Rancid Meatloaf, and like that was a great 13-year-old band, dude. We
Yeah.
ripped, dude. One of those guys like Colson, he stopped playing guitar. This is actually wild. He like stopped playing guitar, even though he's one of the best to be an upright jazz bass player, and he's a monster at that now. Like, but I was like, why did you go to jazz instead of rock? Like, you still love all the noisy stuff. He's like, dude, think about how much dissonance there is in jazz. Like, that's
Yeah.
why I love it, dude. He's like, there's even more. I'm like, all right, cool, bro. But yeah, the emo night went awesome, and like Enrique was really happy with it, and it's just been cool getting to grow with that venue, Retro Junkie, because like when I started working there, like they were kind of on the come up, and and yeah, like they worked very hard, and I have mad respect for Enrique because like even through the pandemic, like they figured out how to turn a parking lot into a beer garden, and like they kept themselves afloat. They had live stream shows in their venue, like they made it work. Like they figured out how to keep that aspect of the community alive, like during a time with no shows, and do it safely. And yeah, I mean, Enrique's a badass, and like I feel very thankful that like Enrique like trusted me to be like a part of that emo night, opening up for this band called Emo Kids. And Emo Kids, they rip, dude. Like they're from like LA, San Diego area. They just played Hawaii. They're starting to tour like nationally,
Yeah.
and they can do it, man. Like they have a screamer in their band. They like were doing A Day to Remember and like doing like The Used and all these things that like really like you have to know how to do in order to do well. And like I thought it was really cool getting to see them, and they're all awesome dudes. Like they watched our set. Like I watched their set too because like bro, like they were just too good. I was up front rocking out the whole time, but like it's just cool when like you get to play with bands that like are also cool and like they're just like they're down for a good time because like at the end of the day, dude, like we play shows because like we also want to see shows. Like, and it's cool when you get to like have a team up where like both bands are just super into what each other are doing. But
Right.
like a lot of the shows this year were because of friends. Like I see my friend Zane Dundon's on. His brother Will. We were Boy Scouts together, dude. Like we both made Eagle rock and roll. Um, but he has a band called the Lighting Section, and straight up like they needed an opener for a bill, and we all of our shows kind of stemmed from that show, all because like my friend Will Dundon like was like, hey, like will you play with us? And it's like, of course we'll play with you. But like, when I think about this year, like in review, like I think about how that show at the Knockout on Easter Sunday, like where we somehow got like around 70 or 80 people there.
Yeah.
Like I was like, okay, like we literally like, and we worked, like I was talking with the lighting section every day, and like we were, and Laser Beam too, like they ripped too, like the other band on the bill, and we just kept on trying to figure out how to best promote that show. And like I'm still very proud of it, and what we did that day. And it really like made me believe in Used to Be Valentines even more, because like we got to do it live, and do that next step of like, instead of just having a dope album, like we got to perform it live, and people were into it live, and we got to support our friends that like we also like. I love their music, dude. Lighting section, bro. Like if you guys like 90s rock with like a new twist on it, like they have got some Sonic Youth vibes, but they've also got Tool vibes. Like they're doing their own thing, and like really like I feel like, dude, they've already got their own sound. Like I don't like shoving other bands like as a part of their descriptors, but like, dude, they're definitely worth checking out if you like alt rock, dude.
See, that's the thing right there. You're just proving the point right there. Community is the most important thing here. As cliche as it is to say, that really is, and that's a point that everyone that I've had on this podcast says. That whole band rivalry thing, that's not what's going to get you further anymore. It's about we all need to be in this together to bring each other up, okay? It shouldn't be to smack the other person down, because what use is that anyway? I mean, if the person's not going to show you respect, then I understand that. But like, why should you hate on another band? Or even if you like that other band, why shouldn't you show that you like that? We're all here I know,
Yeah.
we're all here to bring each other up, and to just, we're all trying to do the same thing. Play our music to the people. We're all trying to create music that we all love and play it out to the people. Okay? Why do you think people, why do you think so many, current rock bands and current metal bands put these bills together that have 3 openers on them? Because they love what all those guys do.
Yeah.
Okay. And not only that, they'll bring on people that are either not as famous as them, or even if they are as famous as them, they just bring them on because they love what they do. And even if they're not as famous as they are, it's because they love what they do, and they want them to have a good audience to play to. At least that's the way it should be anyway.
And I think that it does show with like, like bands like Fall Out Boy, like, bringing their pals Newfound Glory on the road, and like, getting them to play like amphitheaters. Like Newfound Glory played like 2 amphitheaters this year, like on 2 separate tours. And
Yeah.
like that's a band that they sell out. Like I saw them sell out Paradise Rock Club in Boston like 3 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And like they're like club warriors, dude. Like they sell out clubs on the constant. But like I never thought that they would like, and no, like I love Newfound, but like they're just a band I didn't necessarily anticipate like playing amphitheaters again. But like, with these bills like Fall Out Boy with Newfound, and All American Rejects and the Get Up Kids and Newfound and Motion Sea Soundtrack and the Starting Line all doing their mega tour, like it's dope, because like I teach music and whatnot, and I have a decent amount of like 13, 15-year-old kids that are now into Newfound Glory because of that tour. And it's like, dude, they're helping the history of punk rock. Like Fall Out Boy like knows like, hey, we're passing the torch on, like we're the band that has the most attention. Like let's get these kids knowing about the people that like we came up with. They're like people we listen to. Like All
Right.
American Rejects like brought Get Up Kids on the road, because they I think they said they were like signed to like the same label that
Right.
they were at the time. And Get Up Kids were like 5 or 6 years earlier. But there was a nostalgic connection between like the importance of Get Up Kids to the All American Rejects, and they made it happen. And I mean, the more bands you know, the better. At the end of the day, I think like, and I think it's the whole I like band elitism, or I listen to this band over this band. It's like, why can't you listen to both? Because
Yeah.
I was always both in the Green Day and Blink camp, like
Yep.
hardcore. But I know people that think Green Day sucks and Blink's better and all this shit, and it's like it's so different.
Right.
Like you can't even compare. Like you even like their successes are so different. Like they couldn't they exist for each band because each band is different, and like different things happen because people are different, and like that it should all be celebrated, dude. Like I don't want to live in a world without American Idiot, and I don't want to live in a world without like self-titled. I
Right.
know some people are probably gonna say like, is he gonna say Enema, bro? Like, dude, I'm a self-titled guy, man. Dude, I like the email. I like the feeling this obvious, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, obvious is the best, man. But yeah, I don't know, dude. I just think it's lame, dude. Like
Yeah.
people should like what they like and not have to worry about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even with teaching, I don't tell someone don't listen to this. I mean, I'll give my opinion on on certain things. Like, what do you think of this artist? And if I'm like, or usually it's more than just but but still, I'm going to be
Yeah.
like, but that's not a reason you shouldn't like this. I may, I listen to so many different things, and yeah, there are artists where I'm just like, yeah, no. But again, that doesn't mean I'm going to tell someone you shouldn't listen to this. If you start telling someone don't listen to this, like in a non-meme sort of way, then you suck, okay? Don't be that person, all right? I'm not saying everything is great because it's definitely not, but
It is to someone, dude. Like that's how I feel about it, man. I mean,
right,
like if you don't like it, it's because it's not for you.
right.
Like, and if someone likes it, that means it's for someone. Like, and I honestly like get more enjoyment sometimes listening to stuff I don't like than stuff I do like, because like it makes me have to figure out like why would someone like this and see if I can find that out. Because like I don't know. I mean, I know what I'm gonna make at the end of the day. Like I know what my voice is, but like I think it's more exciting to listen to someone that's got a really unique voice that like I don't particularly identify with, versus like listening to someone like that's just gonna give me something that like I know I'm already gonna vibe with, but like it's like not the same way, you know.
You know where I learn about more and more music? DJing.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah,
that's sick.
when I'm DJing at like corporate events or whatever, and people are drunkenly giving me requests, when I can make out what they're saying, or sometimes I'll get a request sheet ahead of time from the company that I work for that, and a lot of times it'll be music I know and already have stored up in my gear. But if there's other songs on there that I haven't heard before, I listen to them and I'll be like, oh, this is cool. Or I'll be like, yeah, no. But I learn a lot. I've learned about so many different artists and music that normally I wouldn't listen to by DJing, you know, or been reminded of stuff that I had forgotten about by DJing. I mean, because that's the other thing too. When you're a band, you can take requests, and if everyone in the band knows how to play the song, you can do it. But as a DJ, all you gotta do is load the song up, find a creative way to segue it in. But like you can call up the song anytime and you learn more. Not only do you learn more about your craft and how to make that sound cool in the segue and whatever else, or just bring in elements of it in and out, you learn about another song and another artist. And it's so interesting how like there's certain artists that like years ago I thought I would never be able to dig, but then DJing I would be like, this is so cool. Why was I not paying attention to this 15 years ago? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that like when you play, like I do an open mic at a bar called CJ's like every Wednesday 8 to 10 p.m. or 8 to 11 p.m. like on Contra Costa Boulevard. Bay Area homies, y'all should roll through. But it's interesting because like we are all request based. Like we have a sign up list, same deal as live band karaoke, except we have to, now, do more jammy songs. Like sometimes we got to play like Black Sabbath deep cuts or like play like, Iron Maiden that like I'm not familiar with. And like, to be honest, like I'm not the biggest Metallica guy in the world, but this gig made me much more of a Metallica guy because I see how passionate the people are that like that stuff. And like now
How
when
many
like
people requested Dyer's Eve? I need to ask. If we're
uh
talking about deep cuts being thrown at you.
not that deep, but like, to like, a metal commenter, dude, like some guy that like really only knows like Run to the Hills and 2 Minutes to Midnight, shit like
Right.
that. Like we're basically picking the glorified, should be hits, like our hits for the fans. But like I have to learn all that on the spot. Like Brooks Lundy, like our leader, he'll call out chords or he'll give me a quick run through, like this is this section, this is this section. And within like 30 seconds to 45 seconds, I have to be, ready to roll. Like I have to trust that I'll hit the right notes and watch his hands and like watch for his cues when they like come in and come out, or like what kind of rhythm, you like eighth notes, or like be like he's like stay on the root, like I'm gonna move, like stuff like that. Like
Like being on a
it's,
session.
it's like being on a session, but like it's real time, doing your best to like you get one take, like, and you can't let like the ship fall apart, especially as a bass player when you're like
Yeah.
holding down the foundation. But that gig has made me a fan of a lot of stuff that I didn't appreciate, like whether it's metal or even hip hop, dude. Like sometimes we get guys and women out of Oakland that will be like, I want to play this R&B song, and I'm like, I've never heard that. And then Brooks, like, because Brooks Lundy, like, he's like definitely goated, bro. Like he's saying, like, he did session work for Guitar Hero, like one through like Rock the 80s.
Right.
He's saying all like the Sting stuff and all the Aussie stuff. And he taught me as a kid. Like literally all my stage moves are like from that guy. And like a lot of my confidence in like being a musician and playing. But like, so like basically I still am learning from the guy that like taught me how to like play at 12, which is amazing. And I'm so fucking thankful for that.
Right.
But like he knows everything, dude. Like he's played in tons of top 40 bands. He like spends all these time like in these tribute bands, like he did House of Floyd, where like they like straight up would like tour and go like play Arizona and stuff, big amphitheaters, not amphitheaters, theaters, like really nice theaters.
Yeah.
Like they're big, like to do his thing and like, play guitar, and like he plays all the instruments, he sings incredibly well, like all these different styles, like master mimic, like at doing any voice you throw at him, but also like has his own take on like a lot of songs and writes his own stuff too. But like he is such a fan of everything, and he really doesn't say no to like any song. And like him not saying no to any requests that we get, if he knows it, like, and he feels confident doing it, he'll have us all do it, and we have to feel confident that we can do it, and we can do it. I don't remember there being any crazy train wrecks. There's only one B-52s incident where I didn't play Rock Officer right, but Rock Officer was fucking Love Shack, but we both don't like that song, so like we don't care.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but like every time, dude, like we make it through. Me, Ryan, and Brooks, when we do that CJ's gig or retro, and you do your best, and you do your best to make people happy, and you have a good time, and you see these people's eyes light up at the end of the night when they're like, like whether you're playing with an 80-year-old woman who wants to play some Everly Brothers, and you're like, I've never even played an Everly Brothers song in my life, like, but you're like, here's the feel, here's the chords,
Yeah.
let's go. Or whether it's like, some 50-year-old guy that wants to shred Fade to Black by Metallica, or like, even like some 20-year-old girl who wants to like play like 21 because it's 21 plus, wants to sing some Taylor Swift that you don't want to hear because you've been teaching it all day, dude. Like I'm a pro at teaching Taylor Swift at Bradley School of Music, but like, dude, like music is for the people, dude. It's for people to enjoy, and like if you have that skill set to like help people have a better night, like that's what it's for. And that's why like I really feel like the people that like kind of shit on cover bands, like it's super lame, because like, yeah, of course, like I love writing my own music. I love playing my own music. And like that's always going to be like what I want to do more than anything. It's what I actively do and it's working out so far, which is sick. But like it's like the cover band gigs, like, dude, like you're helping people have a good night, get down to the songs they already love. And there is a different kind of magic to that. There's magic to like both things, you know? And like I don't see myself like stopping picking up these gigs from time to time, even when I don't have to, because like I love playing with my friends that I do that with, and I love playing those songs. And like it's music is music, dude. Like at the end of the day, like that's it's just fun.
And it's amazing seeing like what songs that you would think, because they've been played 100 million times, you think the crowd's gonna be like, oh, this again, but no, they go ballistic for it. Like, you know, whether it's like with the wedding band I play with, whether it's like us just launching into a song, or if hey Javi, what's going on there? Javi did some mastering for me and it was awesome. um and thanks for hopping on, dude. But yeah, and even when I'm DJing, there are certain songs that I'm thinking, they've heard this a bajillion times, but let's see what happens. Click, and then the whole crowd goes ballistic. I'm like, okay, I guess this still works. I don't want to say this still works, but it's just like, yeah, people still love this song. And then you can sort of see what music is really, especially if it's a newer song, like it's like current top 40, you can tell what music is about to be timeless and what music's going to be trendy, because you'll see over like an 8 month period what stuff they're kind of like, oh yeah, this song, and what stuff they're just like, woo, you know, everyone starts taking shots, throwing the glass, and starts dancing. You know, you can just tell. And it's really cool to see that, you know, just to see the live audience reaction, it's rewarding, and it's just cool to see, you know.
It does make you learn. Yo, what's up, Shalant Metal? Yo, that's my homeboy Zeus.
Nice.
We're in the same practice studio area. He
Awesome.
rocks, dude. Yeah,
Nice.
but yeah, man, it does make you learn when you're in the cover scene, like how to what songs really resonate with people and what songs are kind of fads. Like like when I did a cover band with Remy and Ryan, like before we started playing used to be Valentines and Remy Mulder music, and we assembled a list, you know, for the popular kicks, and like we did only 21st century hits, popular kicks, 21st century hits. It was awesome, and we got like a lot of good gigs there. But there's a venue called Maggie McGarry's in San Francisco that like throws down harder than any venue, and like those shows are legendary, dude. 150 people all the time in like this sweaty room, you know, like everyone's, you know, drinking beers, everyone's having a good time. It's insane, dude. It's one of my favorite places to play. But like we made this list, and some of the songs we thought were gonna land didn't land at all, and got people to actually leave the dance floor. And
Wow.
other songs were like the surprise star of the night, dude. Like we I did Are You Mine by Arctic Monkeys, and people weren't vibing with that, which I was kind of surprised, because I know a lot of, you know, hipsters that like that kind of stuff, but it was too riff based rock, the same kind of way like when you play Metallica, like it gets people off the dance floor sometimes, because like if it's not the right time to put it in the set. And that's where like building a set's kind of like a DJ. I learned this from Brooks Lundy. Like you think 3 songs at a time, like you think in little mini sets, and then you can read the room and make more informed decisions as you go. And I keep that up in like in every show. And like even we used to be Valentine's, like my band members, they're always joking like, okay, Niels wrote down this set, but it's just the order. Because like I just don't want the energy to not feel spontaneous. Like I hate something that's stale, you know, and I just I don't want to play the same order. I want to play what feels right. But
Yeah.
back to like the secret songs like that like did really well at that popular kick show. Like so we played some Selena Gomez, like and like a Disney song. I'm trying to da da da. No, that's circles, bro. That's not circles. Yeah, I'm stupid. That's flowers. By Miley Cyrus. Love You Like a Love Song, dude,
Yeah.
by Selena Gomez.
Yeah.
Remy's Wife was like, that needs to be in there. For me, I was like, I've never heard of this song. Like, so like, why are we playing? Like, I was being kind of like, a douche. Like for like a
Yeah.
hot sec, I was like, dude, like that's not in any of these top 40 playlists or anything's curated on Spotify. I was like, because like a lot of it was we were basing it off of that because they're like, okay, like analytically, like that's the stuff. But there are certain songs that people forget about altogether.
Right.
And, like once they're reminded, like a certain memory, like gets unlocked, and like they're a kid again, or like they're in some memory that they're really stoked on, and they're really feeling it.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like that Selena Gomez song, people went nuts for. And
Yeah.
I just thought it was the coolest thing because like it also goes to show like as a DJ or a cover band artist, like if you're doing that kind of thing, like the list the list of like stuff that people say is like the timeless hits aren't necessarily the most timeless of the songs. And
Right.
like if you allow yourself to have the liberties of making a set list that's more personal to you, like you might get better results. And I think that's why like original music like does really well if it's really personal to an artist, because
Because it's
like
authentic and the people
it's
can
authentic.
tell.
And same with the covers. Like if you have a song that you're really connected to and you're sharing that
Yeah.
and performing it really well, like dude, it's the same as playing an original. Like it's not your song, but it's your song.
Right.
And like
Hey,
you
Art
look at
Vanterpool's on. What up, Art?
yeah, but like I just think that it's lame that like sometimes cover bands get seen as less than, because like if anything, like from what I've seen is like they're capable of bringing more consistent joy to an audience than a touring band can, because they're local and they keep music alive in cities when the big bands don't have time to play. Like, a big band's never going to play your hometown 10, 15 times in a year
They're
unless
keeping
you're
the room
unless
warm.
you're
They're keeping the crowd
yeah
warmed up and ready
yeah
for when the big artists come through.
unless you're Billy Joe Armstrong and you play a bunch of secret shows with the cover ups.
That's true.
And but that ticket,
You've seen.
that's a hard ticket to get. I've seen them twice and I'm very, very thankful. But yeah, Billy Joe, you rock, bro. Love you, dude. Anyways, dude, but yeah, man, like even Billy Joe likes playing in his cover band, dude. And
Yep.
you know what his set was, dude?
What?
All of his favorite songs, man. All of his favorite songs. He's playing songs like A Million Miles Away by the Plimsouls. And when my dad and I got to see that together, like Valley Girl, that movie with Nick Cage from the 80s, it's goated.
Yep.
Plimsouls rock fucking hard. Like, but Billy Joe, that song's important to him. And when he plays it, it's like, bro, that song is important to both of us.
Yes.
And now I feel even more connected to Green Day because I know I know that they like a lot of the same stuff I like. And I think that's awesome. Like,
Right. No, that's that. It's. I agree with what you're saying, and it's amazing. Like I'll throw songs in there that like I'll throw songs like if I'm DJing, for example, going back to that, I'll read the crowd and uh, I like to put a set list together ahead of time that I know has a tremendous arc and I've got all these plans. But then you get there and you're like, they don't want to hear this right now. And then you got to think on the fly. So you read the crowd a little bit and then you look for songs and then you're like, I don't know about this, but let's try it. And then you're like, oh, great. I just saved the day. Thank God. And then that
yeah,
clues you in on what to do. Like, there have been times where I would be doing, like, if I'm DJing at a wedding, generally speaking, the crowd's going to be about my age, around 30, maybe a little bit younger. Like around yours and my age.
yeah,
Maybe early 20s. So I will tend to go for 2000s rock or more so current top 40 or top 40 from the past decade. But there have been times where I'm doing that and they're not having any of it. And I'm like, isn't this what everyone's listening to? So then I have to try and clue in on maybe a couple requests they threw in that I was planning on getting to. And then I look at the decade it's from and I'm like, wait a minute, they're asking for a song by Nelly, and it's like, all right, so then I'll throw in a different Nelly song, and then I'll throw in something else from the early 2000s, like in the hip hop realm, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, these people want Notorious B.I.G., they want Will Smith, they want, okay, we're gonna shift gears, we're not gonna play David Guetta and all that stuff, even though I love that stuff. We're gonna switch gears and we're gonna do that. Or sometimes you'll get a crowd that's a little bit older, and then you think you're playing for their kids, but it's like you'll notice that their kids who are around our age don't want to dance, but their parents and the older ones are the ones that want to dance. So then you're like, okay, well, okay, again, throughout the top 40, and then you have to play the Stayin' Alives and all that stuff and the centerfolds, and it works.
But it's a totally different. It's a really really cool skill set to like have. Yo, what's up, Sam? Rock and roll, dude. Dude,
And sometimes you
Sam's hype,
unfortunately,
man. Sam had a DJ, dude. Like, dude, Sam like threw this badass party like on like a rooftop, dude.
nice,
Dude, yeah, he's an LA friend, and like, dude, he had a DJ, and like that DJ knew what was going on, dude.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's all about reading the room and like what kind of atmosphere is going down. Love you too, bro. But yeah, dude,
And that can be scary when you're first
yeah,
DJing. I remember the first time I was DJing,
yeah,
I was like, what is going on here? Requests being thrown at you left and right, and you're hoping that when you pull it up, you don't accidentally stop the song. And that has happened before, and that's
yeah,
embarrassing.
yeah, dude.
I'm
I
sure
feel
I'm
like
sure your friend right here can attest to, like, when he very first started DJing, it was a similar thing.
oh yeah, he had a DJ at his party. I don't know if he DJs. He helps run this dope ass clothing like thrift store thing like that's in his apartment, and like,
Nice.
dude, that's awesome. Like those guys, like I met in LA, and like he was dude, they're just super cool people. We went to go see a bunch of shows like Karanga Bin and whatnot. We met at a there's two Neil Francises. There's a Neil Francis that is like a indie hipster guy, and then there's a Neil Francis that's like kind of more R&B, like organ player, keys player, and they literally are almost spelled identically. And I
Yeah.
thought I was going to the Neil Francis show, like that, well, the more hipster guy, like because I had talked to him and did a bass cover online, and
You're
then it
going to
turned
the
out I
Neil
was
you're going to
yeah,
the Neil Francis gig instead.
but yeah, dude, and like I made like two awesome friends like that night, and dude, it's just hype. But like, dude, that's what's cool. Like if you're like, I could have left that show, dude, and like straight up been like, it's the wrong artist. Like I'm gonna go home. Like I don't feel like listening to someone new. But I was like, you know what? Whatever, I'll stay.
Yeah.
And like it was funny because I had the realization with the conversation with Sam that I was at the wrong concert. I was like, wait, you don't know that song? And we're like, and then later on Instagram, those Neil Francises like kind of started a fake internet beef like with each other because their fan groups were getting confused. But
It's
yeah,
like
I mean,
it's like in Toy Story 2. I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm Buzz Lightyear. I'm Buzz
exactly.
Lightyear.
It was exactly like that. But it just like goes to show like the more music you're a fan of, like, dude, you're like you just get to know different people and like get to enjoy different things. And like there's no reason to like limit yourself on what you can do, because like then you can't be a cool DJ either, because then you don't if you don't know what people like, different age ranges or different like subgroups of like, dude, like how you're limiting yourself on how you can entertain people.
One of my favorite things to do is make metal arrangements of songs. When David Guetta did, I'll call it his and BB Rex's version of I'm Good, because that song was already in existence. It was originally written by Eiffel 65 in like the early 2000s and was a huge hit back then. And I guess the Wave of Nostalgia did the thing it does. And then him and BB Rexa did their thing. It exploded. And then literally every single weekend that I'm doing DJing work at weddings, people are requesting that song over and
Yeah.
over and over and over. And finally, I'm just like, why don't I do my own version of this song? And it's still part of our live set to this day, and I'm so proud of it. And I've done that with so many other songs that people keep. It's interesting. You can somewhat gauge what you want to do an arrangement of, or if that's your thing, by like if you're a DJ and people are starting to put out requests, you can look at that and then do something to it. I did a metal arrangement of Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa. Obviously I did I'm Good. I've got some other stuff I'm planning on doing. One time Charles Volk's sister requested that I do something with God is a Dancer by Tiesto and Mabel. Well, I did a short snippet of it like earlier this year.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, that's actually a cool song. Why don't I do a whole thing to it? And I did. And it's on my YouTube if you want to watch it. And then that sparks other creativity too. Like I've done metal arrangements of songs where I compose like whole sections that were never even part of that song, period. And I'm like, what if I put that in? What if I make my own song around that little snippet? Because nobody else owns it except me. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, stuff like that happens, dude. Like, hey, what's up, Joe? Dude, Joe, I don't know if you know this story about Blink-182 and Green Day, but like, it's pretty crazy. Apparently, What's My Age Again was like written by like Mark Hoppus when he was trying to learn Jar, but like he learned it wrong or something.
yeah.
And then because if you listen to like Jar's like do 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 like, and What's My Age is do 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 like it's the same rhythm but like different notes, like because like he skipped a string, but like it ended up working out, dude, and we got two fire songs out of one. It's like someone learned someone's song wrong.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. Wait, what does Joe Raz want? He wants a metal arrangement of Maroon by Taylor Swift. I guess I have to put that into the I gotta put that in the list now of stuff to do. Whoa, where'd he go? Where are you on the Yo, dude, you're not on the YouTube thing. Oh, I think Oh, did this stop? Oh, the meeting must have ended. Oh, jeez. I think the meeting just ended. That's hilarious.